It is Thursday, May 14, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Jules Sterling, and I'm the one who makes sure the corporate suite actually understands what the road is saying.
This is Elena Rossi.
Buck Reynolds here.
And I'm Dan Miller. We have a great show for you today.
Well, okay. We have a packed room today because the news cycle is, honestly, it's sort of a whirlwind, right? Yesterday, we were breaking down that J.B. Hunt earnings beat and those heavy criminal indictments in the Baltimore Bridge case.
Yeah, Hunt looked like a veteran quarterback just picking apart the defense. But man, those bridge charges? It's a whole new ballgame when the DOJ starts throwing around felony conspiracy.
It is a reality check, Jules. If I may, today we are pivoting from those courtroom dramas to some very real steel and concrete. We finally got shovels in the ground on the Brent Spence.
Here's the deal. We're also looking at the feds making a move on cargo theft. The House passed a bill that might actually put some teeth into enforcement. Finally.
We'll get into all of that, plus some major news about FedEx's LTL spinoff. But first, Dan, you were watching the House Transportation Committee this morning. What's the play?
Look, the play is the markup crunch. We're sitting here on May 14th, and the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law, the bill, it's got an expiration date of September 30th. That's the end of the fourth quarter for highway funding.
Right. And, okay, so the House is looking for a $550 billion multi-year bill?
That's the target. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee is trying to find a way to keep the Highway Trust Fund solvent. But it's tough because we're seeing record fuel prices and, honestly, the shift to electric is carving out the gas tax revenue.
The thing is, we shouldn't be talking about the tax until we talk about where it's going. They just broke ground in the Midwest on a project that's been a maybe since I was in middle school.
Exactly. The Brent Spence Bridge. Ohio and Kentucky governors, DeWine and Beshear, actually shared a shovel on May 8th. We're talking a $4 billion project.
It's the bottleneck of the nation, Elena. $1 billion in freight crosses that bridge every single day. If that bridge coughs, the whole supply chain catches pneumonia.
Sort of a dramatic image, Buck, but you're not wrong. So, Dan, the new bridge, it's a companion bridge, right?
Yeah, double-deck, cable-stayed. It'll sit just west of the old 1963 structure. 5 lanes of through traffic in each direction for I-71 and I-75 on the new one. They're going to rehab the old girl and make it local traffic only, restoring those emergency shoulders.
Safety first. Those shoulders were removed in '85 just to cram more lanes in. It was a disaster for claims and accident management.
Problem is, we won't see it open until 2031. 5 years of construction is a lot of orange cones and yield signs.
But it's a win. If the highway reauthorization doesn't get messed up by political infighting, we're looking at a huge shift toward traditional highway projects. Fewer bike lanes, more bridge spans.
Moving from infrastructure to security, we had a major legislative milestone within the last 48 hours. The House passed H.R. 2853.
Oh, that's the CORCA bill? The one for organized retail crime?
Actually, Jules, it's much broader than that. It's the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, but the supply chain part is what's revolutionary. It passed 348 to 60. Bipartisan.
Whew, that's a blowout win. What's in the playbook, Elena?
A few things. First, it mandates an organized retail and supply chain crime coordination center within Homeland Security, a war room for cargo crime. But the real hammer is the aggregation of theft.
I mean, the problem has always been that these guys steal 10 grand here and 10 grand there to stay under the felony limits.
Exactly. Under CORCA, federal prosecutors can aggregate thefts totaling $5,000 or more over a 12-month period. It turns 100 nuisance thefts into one massive federal felony case.
Well, Okay. So they're treating it more like RICO?
Very much so. It expands money laundering statutes. The DOJ can now go after the assets. They can seize the trucks, the warehouses, and the bank accounts of the kingpins. It's not just arresting the guy driving the van anymore.
About time. ATRI says cargo theft is costing us $18 million a day. That's a lot of diesel being stolen for nothing.
It's not just the diesel, Buck. It's the high-value electronics and the pharmaceuticals. It's sophisticated transnational crime. Senate Judiciary Chair Chuck Grassley is expected to fast-track this now.
Bottom line, if you're a broker or a carrier and you're not sharing data with HSI soon, you're leaving money on the table. This is the government finally stepping onto the field.
Speaking of players on the field, we have a big corporate shift to talk about. FedEx. The board officially greenlit the spinoff of FedEx Freight yesterday.
Oh, it's happening. FDXF, June 1st.
Right. If you're a shareholder of record as of tomorrow, May 15th, you get 1 share of the new LTL unit for every 2 shares of FedEx you hold.
Interesting. FedEx is keeping about 20% of the stake, but this is a pure play LTL giant hitting the market.
Look, the strategy here is clear. They want to disentangle LTL from the lower margin parcel business. Parcel is a grind. LTL is where the yield is.
Here's the deal, though. Whenever these big boys spin off, the service levels usually take a dip while they figure out who's holding the keys.
Exactly. And the competitors are already circling. XPO, Saia, and Old Dominion are reportedly launching service-first campaigns. They're betting that the transition might cause some hiccups for FedEx customers.
It's like a free agent period. If you're a shipper and you're worried about the spinoff, you're looking for a new home.
Actually, Jules, the concern from my side is the yield management they mentioned. That usually means firing the customers that aren't profitable enough.
Well, yeah. It's a polite shutdown for the smaller shippers. But for the market, it's a massive new benchmark.
Hey, before we move on to Buck's segment, we have a quick note from our sponsor.
Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering. This show is actually powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media.
We really appreciate the support for the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF. It really helps keep the servers humming. And the servers, well, hummier.
Now it's time for From the Sleeper Cab, our Thursday segment where we check the pulse of the road and see what's actually happening in the yard.
Go for it, Buck.
Listen, I've spent 30 years and 3 million miles looking through a windshield. And I can tell you one thing. A CDL or an AZ license is just a piece of plastic if the driver hasn't put in the work. We've got a crisis of ghost hours in the training industry, and it's making the roads a minefield.
Actually, the Ontario Auditor General's report was chilling.
It was worse than chilling, Elena. It was lawless. They found schools giving 20 hours of instruction when the law requires 103. One school was teaching guys how to drive without ever showing them a left turn at a major intersection or how to reverse park.
Wait, you're telling me someone can get a license for an 80,000-pound rig without knowing how to reverse?
That's the deal. 17 unregistered schools booked over 3,000 road tests because the government agencies weren't sharing data. It's a diploma mill. And it's not just Ontario. New Jersey's going the other way with their new ABC test.
The business location pitfall.
Exactly, Dan. Starting October 1st, New Jersey says your truck is a place of business. If you're an owner-operator and you're in a truck or on a digital app, the state says you're an employee. Period.
It makes the traditional owner-operator model almost impossible to maintain in that state.
It's a mess. And while the lawyers are fighting over who's an employee, the hardware is failing. Daimler just issued a massive recall for Cascadia and Western Star 49X models, the 2025s and 2026s.
Not the brakes again?
The brakes. They failed FMVSS 121. The air tanks are too small for the brake chambers. If you lose your primary air, you might not have enough reserve to stop.
That is a catastrophic liability.
It's a non-compliance defect found in production. If you're sitting in one of those new rigs, call your dealer. Don't wait for the letter. And speaking of letters, by 8 p.m. tonight, the FMCSA is killing the old registration system.
The Motus transition.
Yeah, if your portal account is dormant for more than 90 days, you're locked out. They're moving to multi-factor authentication and login.gov. If you haven't checked your keys by tonight, you're standing on the porch while the world moves on. That's from the sleeper cab for this week.
Buck, I think the Motus system is actually a good thing for fraud prevention. But speaking of things that make me nervous, let's talk about the virtual driver's puddle problem.
You talking about Waymo in San Antonio?
I am. Waymo just issued their largest recall ever, nearly 3,800 robotaxis. On May 11th, NHTSA issued campaign 26E026.
Wait, what happened?
The software fails to recognize untraversable flooded lanes. In San Antonio, a Waymo identified standing water, decided to slow but proceed, and got swept into Salado Creek. It took 4 days to recover the vehicle.
A sensor doesn't have common sense. I could have told him that. You see a 6-inch puddle on the I-35, you don't proceed. You wait.
But look, even with the Waymo recall, Volvo and DSV just launched their Texas corridor operations yesterday. Dallas to Houston, I-45.
Is that the route Kodiak is running for roll, too?
Exactly. The I-45 is the most contested autonomous lane in the world right now. Volvo is using the VNL Autonomous with the Aurora driver. They're calling it a production-grade setup.
I suppose. But if a Waymo can't handle a puddle, how is a Class 8 Volvo going to handle a flash flood on the Trinity River?
The thing is, they have safety drivers in them for now. But DSV says the goal is 24/7 utilization. They want to unlock the asset.
We'll see. California's DMV actually opened the gates this month for heavier autonomous vehicles, so the legal floodgates are as open as the physical ones.
We need to pivot to the macro, guys. Kevin Warsh was confirmed as the new Fed chair yesterday. 54-45 vote. Most partisan in history.
And he starts today?
And diesel just hit a national average of $5.64 a gallon.
Oh my God.
It's the Hormuz blockade. The strait is responsible for 20% of global petroleum. After the Iranian strikes in April, flow dropped from 20 million barrels a day to 13.
Sort of feels like a triple threat, right? High rates, high diesel, and now a hawkish Fed chair?
Exactly. Warsh wants to shrink the Fed's $6.7 trillion balance sheet. That means liquidity is going to dry up. If you're a carrier trying to finance new equipment, your costs just went through the uprights.
If I may, that's why the ATA and the TCA are fighting so hard against the proposed fuel tax holiday.
Wait, why would they fight a lower tax?
Because cutting the 24-cent federal tax is a political sugar high. It starves the Highway Trust Fund, the very fund Dan was talking about for the Brent Spence.
You can't build bridges with good vibes. You need the tax revenue. Plus, once you cut it, you never get it back.
It's a bad trade. You sacrifice long-term infrastructure for a week of cheaper fuel. Shippers are already eating a 30% jump in fuel surcharges anyway. 18 cents isn't the problem. $5 diesel is the problem.
Let's bring it home with something that actually works. We've been talking about efficiency all day, but the mile marker 2026 index came out this week.
Oh, I saw this. the way station bypass data?
Give us the benchmark, Buck.
Okay. Per individual bypass, a driver reclaims 7 minutes of drive time. They save half a gallon of diesel by not decelerating, idling, and then gunning it back to highway speed.
Okay, so at $5.60 a gallon, that's what?
The index says it's $10.65 in savings per bypass.
That's a whole new roster of drivers for free.
And it's not just the money, it's the consistency. Shippers want predictability. If you're not stopping at the chicken coop every 50 miles, your ETA actually means something.
The thing is, the tech is evolving. It's not just a transponder on the glass anymore. It's integrated into the ELD. Pre-pass and drive-wise are fighting for every lane.
Right. And it's sort of a win-win, right? The safe fleets get to keep rolling, and the inspectors get to focus on the guys running the revoked ELDs and the ghost training certificates.
It's the ultimate filter. If you've got the data infrastructure, you win. If you're still using dirty data or cheating the logs, you're getting pulled over.
Actually, Jules, the ROI on bypass is one of the few places in AI and digital tech right now where the math actually checks out.
I'll take a bypass green light over a generative AI chatbot any day of the week.
That's all for today's High Road. We've covered everything from the billion-dollar bridges to the pennies saved at the way station. The bottom line? The industry is moving toward a massive high-tech recalibration. Dan, any final thoughts?
Look, it's all about the ground game. The infrastructure is finally getting built, but the fuel prices are putting everyone in a prevent defense.
Later.
Bye.
Peace.
Drive safe, keep your air tanks full, and we'll see you on the